Hey everybody, Wolf here, back with another video. Today we're going to talk about the deadlift, specifically pushing the floor away in the deadlift. That's something that you do want to do when deadlifting. I've noticed several of my lifters at the same time are struggling with this issue, and I couldn't find a video, relatively short video that addressed this issue specifically, as opposed to having to find its time marker or its place within the context of a broader deadlift video. So I thought I would make a little push the floor away explanation, example, quick tutorial, quick fix. Did that yesterday after my workout, so I did not use the mic, so the audio, it picks it up just fine. It's just not as perfectly clean as I would like, but it picks it up just fine. And, it's after my workout, so I look like I just worked out, but otherwise came out okay. So posting it for you. Let me know if you have any questions or comments about it. And of course, as always, any ideas for future videos about various technique aspects or whatnot. Drop comments if you have anything to say about that as well. All right, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy.
Saying necessity is the mother of invention. Apparently necessity is also the mother of most of my videos lately, because this one is another one coming up in response to a recurring issue from several of the people I coach. Don't have the mic today, so the audio will be a little iffy, but I still thought it'd be worth doing just because it's just this frequent recurring issue, and I've seen it a lot in the past too. And the issue is on the deadlift, and talking about pushing the floor away. It's a very common and useful cue. We use pushing the floor away. But I wanted to illustrate that because I haven't found a really good short video that illustrates only that without being in the context of several other things. We've got some good 5-step, perfect every time deadlift setup and execution videos, but I wanted to focus the entire video just on the push the floor away cue. So first, conceptually, the idea of this, and I'm going to show this from the front and also from the side afterwards, but I'll show this part from the side. So the idea here is that when the deadlift is on the floor, when the bar's on the floor, you want to initiate in your brain by pushing the floor away, which will result in a knee extension, meaning the knees will go backwards, which is the anatomical or kinesiological movement of knee extension. Now, it's true that the back will also get a little more vertical. There will also be a little bit of hip extension, and the back will get a little more vertical during this initial phase. But the emphasis in your brain should be push the floor away, because the knee extension is really kind of doing the yeoman's work, really doing the primary work in that phase. And the back is getting only a little bit more vertical. So it's true that we don't want it to be sometimes what people will call a stripper deadlift, where the shins shoot back and then you end up doing a stiff leg deadlift. We obviously don't want that. But between the two, the ratio is more favored to knee extension, with only a little bit of hip extension, only a little bit of the back getting more vertical. And then once the bar gets to and past the knees, the knee extension is almost completely done. The knees don't lock out, but they're almost fully extended. And at that point, the back finishes straightening up and the hips fully extend. And that's where you will hear people shout hips or hips through or stuff like that as a cue at the top. So in practice, that means that we want it to look something like this, where at the bottom you're here, you have mostly knee extension with a little bit of hip extension to the knee. And then from the knee to the top, you just have the knees kind of just a little bit and the hips and back getting more vertical, and then it all locks out together. That's what it looks like from the side. What does it actually look like with the barbell? So I'll show a demo example of doing it wrong and doing it right from the front. Then I'll turn my bar around and show it from the side. So first, let's show wrong. I'm going to over-exaggerate it. Not everybody that I see is doing it this wrong, but for demonstration's sake, to show the far end of the spectrum, this is very, very wrong. So you get your setup, and all your setup is perfect, and you're an inch away, the bar's over midfoot, everything's perfect. But what you do then, again, watch my knees, is you do all this back extension, and my knees haven't moved at all. And so the bar actually has to come around my knee. That's the opposite of what we want you to do. So again, at the point where you're at the knee, my knees are still bent, and I'm very vertical. Okay? That's the opposite of what we want. What we want is push the floor away so that when the bar's at my knees are mostly extended, my back is still fairly horizontal, a little bit more vertical than on the floor, but fairly horizontal, and then I push my hips through and make my back more vertical at the top. Okay? So again, to contrast conceptually, off the floor, we want to push the floor away so the knees extend right off the floor. The back and hips only change a little bit. Once the bar gets to the knee, they change a lot. What we don't want is for the knees to stay still, to stay bent, for the shins to stay inclined. while you lift it all with your back, and then only after the bar gets towards the top do you extend your knees. That's what we don't want. So again, visually, wrong, and I'll pause again, wrong would look like this, where the knees haven't moved at all. I've just gotten much more vertical, and then the knees extend. Whereas correct would look something like this. Push the floor away. Notice how my knees are now almost fully extended. My shins are almost fully vertical, and then finish up. Okay, with that done, we'll now take a look at how that looks from the side. Okay, so here we are with a slightly front oblique view. I'm choosing this view even though from the side gives you the most direct access to seeing angles that I want you to see. Some of that is blocked by the plate itself, especially my shins and my knees being blocked by the plate. So a little bit of a front oblique opens that up. So I'm limited by the narrow space of my one-car garage here. Hopefully this will be good enough for you to see. So again, what I'm gonna do is first do it wrong, where I don't extend my knees at all. I don't push the floor away, and I lift with my back. I'll pause at the knee and point out the markers. Then I'll do it correctly. And then I'll just show a very simple drill you can do with lightweight to kind of get this down. And again, like all drills and all cues, it's meant to correct a problem. It doesn't work for everybody, but it's kind of a basic go-to one that works for many. So first, let's set up like we always do. Shins about an inch away from the bar, heels about hip width, toes out about 15 degrees, your standard deadlift stance. Take your grip without moving the bar, bring the shins to bar, push the knees out, and now we'll do it wrong. So instead of extending the knees, instead of pushing the floor away, I'll squeeze up and just lift with my back. So you can see, even though the bar is above my knees, my shins have the same angle, and my knees are roughly in the same position they were before. And then only then do I snap up. So that's not what we want to do. That's incorrect. With the same starting position, what we want to do is push the floor away. So you see when the bar's at the same position, my shins are now almost vertical, my knees are out of the way, and my back is more horizontal. As opposed to back being more vertical in the previous one, it's more like this. And now I snap up to vertical and finish. Okay? So you can see the contrast between the two positions. I'll show that one more time. When you're at the knee, if you do it wrong, you're gonna look about like this. Notice the vertical back, notice the knees forward. If you do it right, you're gonna look about like this. A little more horizontal back, shins are back, knees are back. And in fact, that paused type deadlift, either only pausing halfway and going back down, or finishing the rep, either of those two, can be a good cue. You do a very lightweight, you pause there, assess your position, because sometimes one of the problems, especially remotely, where I can't get feedback till hours or a day later, is people can't feel in the moment if they're doing it right. If I'm there in person, I can correct that. If I'm remote, I can't. So how can you do this on your own? Well, stop at the knee with a very light weight and assess where you're at. If your knees are still forward and your back is vertical, you didn't do it right. You've got to go back and push the floor away harder. If your shins are relatively vertical, almost vertical, your knees are back and your back's a little more horizontal, you did it right. Memorize what that felt like and do it again. And keep doing it until more and more of your reps, eventually all of your reps are like that. So what you would do is about like this. Set up like always, pause. My shins are vertical, my back's roughly horizontal, good rep. Obviously the bar should stay on your legs the whole time. Oh, my back's vertical and my knees are forward and my shins are bent, bad rep. I want to be like this, next time be like this. Try it again. Push the floor away. Oh, okay, back is horizontal, knees are back, I push the floor away. And just do, sets of 3 to 5 reps like that with a light enough weight. Get the hang of it. Then do your regular work. And over time, that should improve the situation, even if you're only working remotely or even if you're working by yourself without a coach, to where you can get to pushing the floor away correctly. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.